and I can change the world. I will be the sunlight in your universe. You would think my love was really something good, baby, if I could change the world.
Hey everybody, welcome to Hot in Palm Springs, one of the series on PromoHomo.TV. I am your host, Nicholas Snow. Yes, over 6 feet of snow has hit Palm Springs and the world. You don't quite get the joke because you're not seeing me stand, but I am over 6 feet tall. As you can see on the screen, oh my goodness, my guest today is the amazing and multi-talented Francesca Amari. Now, my viewers came to know of Francesca for the first time when she served as the assistant director for PromoHomo.TV's Palm Springs Pride broadcast this last November. But she's a star. I like to refer to her as a streaming queen, just like me, but in a different way, in her own right. She's a versatile singer and cabaret artist, and her online show, Cocktails and Cabaret, has been going strong live weekly for more than a year. As CV Weekly aptly said, if Francesca Amari isn't a household name in your home, then you haven't yet discovered the best music, theater, and magic that Palm Springs has to offer. And the world is watching now as well. Now, I have to just confess that before the show, backstage, I told Francesca, who I've only known personally for a short period of time, relatively speaking, I said, don't think this is weird, but I really love you. I love for who you are in the world. I love you for your creativity, for your generosity of spirit. And she was also just wonderful to be of service to my Pride Parade broadcast, which was just really cool. She's coming up. We have 2 of her songs. We have the full rendition of Change the World, and we have a clip from one of her performances of this amazing tribute show she does in honor of Gilda Radner. So that's who's coming up, and I'm just so excited, and you get to stay tuned for all of it. For their support of my show, I want to thank DAP Health. One of their value statements is we welcome all people, period. Also want to thank 849 Restaurant and Lounge on North Palm Canyon. Willie Ryan and John Pascal have supported the show for a long time. I'm a proud media sponsor of the LGBTQ Community Center of the Desert. And you can find them at thecentercv.org. We're going out live on February 10th. Next week, their red dress tickets go on sale, and they'll sell out. So go to thecentercv.org to figure out when and where to put in your bid for those tickets, because they'll go fast. And I'm a proud sponsor of Palm Springs Pride. You can find 4 complete parade broadcasts at PromoHomo.TV, and the main event happens every November when we don't have a close down of society. For their support in amplifying my show across the Twitterverse, big thanks to the hashtag I Love Gay campaign. And I also want to thank my significant media partners, KK1065 Palm Springs, the hashtag I Love Gay Palm Springs podcast, and gaydesertguide.lgbt. For those of you who want one, well, there is PromoHomo.TV merch. Francesca has merch, I know. She was gracious enough to get a t-shirt to wear in the parade. But you can get yours as well on Amazon or from the merch link at PromoHomo.TV. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching on Facebook, during the broadcast, you'll see the opportunity to hit a bell, and that reminds you of future broadcasts. And you can always just follow me on social media at PromoHomo.TV, wherever you want to stay abreast of live broadcasts. So I'm doing something very exciting. I'm having a 60th birthday subscriber thank you celebration on April 24th, a Sunday afternoon at 849 Restaurant and Lounge. And all you have to do to get invited is to become a voluntary paid subscriber to the free content at PromoHomo.TV for only $10 a month. And here are some of the people who have done just that.
I'll be your light. Be your light. I'll be your light. If it gets too dark, I am running for you. If it gets too dark, I'll be your light. Be your light. I'll be your light. Your light. I'll be your light. If it gets too dark, I'll be your light.
And for those of you out there in watching live, you can comment in your social media if you're watching on Facebook, on YouTube, or on LinkedIn. And Francesca, who is backstage, has been busy. On social media, she says, "Good morning." One of my supporters and viewers, Rock May, says, "I won't be able to stay in the live, but will catch on replay, sending rainbow hugs." And we have someone on YouTube named Whackjob who says good morning. And Francesca's very gracious, and she says good morning, Whackjob. And Francesca loves 849, and I love Francesca, so I'm going to bring her on screen right now. Good morning, Francesca.
Good morning. How are you?
Is Whackjob a friend of yours?
Yes, whack job is. Most of my friends are whack jobs, but this particular one is Strip Kennedy, I believe.
Okay.
He'll confirm it.
I am relieved to know because, you never know who. Yep, Whackjob says Francesca and I are old friends. This would be a
And
good time.
old is right.
So this would be a good time for to let people know that if you are watching live February 10th, 2022, and you comment in the social media contents with hashtag sing, you'll be entered into the drawing at the end of the episode for this sticker. There are only two ways to get this sticker. One is you become a paid subscriber to the network. The other way is to win the sticker in the show. So just comment hashtag sing, and I'll remind you again later in the show to do that. And I'm also going to put Francesca's website up because the first thing I want to ask you about, Francesca, is how you pivoted during the pandemic to this long-running Cocktails and Cabaret streaming show.
Well, I'm not one to sit for very long, and I also live to sing. I don't know. It's just, I feel in my life, I feel the most natural when I'm on stage. I know that's like so foreign for people, but
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm rather shy in public and in person.
Again, I don't know what you're talking about.
And so I just feel like I really, my purpose in life is to sing. And so I went about a week, or I think it was just about a week. My last gig was March 15th. I remember debating with the producer Sunday, the 15th of March, 2020, like the whole week prior. Do we cancel? Do we go? Do we cancel? And we're like, we're just going to do it. So that was the last gig I had. And then everything shut down. And then I think it was March 25th. So maybe a week and a half went by. And by then I was like, I got to do something. And so I just, without really knowing what I was doing, I set up my computer here at my house and went live. And I had some songs on tracks, and I had like my little notes and quotes. And I just thought, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to go put this out there. And I just started doing it week after week. And I started having people come, and it was really fun. And then maybe a month or two in, my main piano player, Wayne Abravanel, called me and said, I'd like to do it with you. Can you come to my house? And we became our own little bubble. And so that was thrilling for me, because I'm not a big fan of doing music to tracks, because I lose a sense of my personal interaction, So then I started going to Wayne's house. And so we've been doing it ever since. This week, well, today we switched from Wednesdays to Thursdays at the first of the year, but I think this is week 98. So we are in year 2 of doing that.
That is amazing. Now, many people who might be tuning in tonight had the opportunity to see you in a live show last night. So for people who missed it, so they can be on the lookout for it next time, tell us what the show was, who was in it, and how it went.
It was so much fun. It's always so heartening to interact and perform with other singers in a live venue. And we were at Palm Canyon Theater, which is, I think, probably Palm Springs' oldest theater. And it was a fundraiser. So there were 160 people in the audience. Everybody had masks on. The audience was, from the moment we opened, the audience was just right there, so supportive. And Judith Chapman was the MC, and there were probably 15 performers. And the audience was so gracious and loved every minute of everybody's performance. And it was really fun. I got to sing 2 songs, one which was a huge challenge for me, and it went well. So I felt artistically, I felt like, oh, I did this okay. So it was just a really fun night of music, and everybody's heart was just out there. The audience, the performers. It was a really lovely night, and it was a fundraiser for Palm Canyon Theater. So hopefully
I love that. Barbara Wise says, hi, Francesca.
Oh, hi,
Paul Jasek, who's a friend of mine, is a fan of yours.
Oh, thanks.
Christine
Hi,
G is sending hearts. Paul Jasek says, hello, Nicholas. And Bill Wheeler says, Cocktails and Cabaret is so much fun. Love you, Francesca and Wayne. So I think that we should give them a sample of Cocktails and Cabaret that I magically have queued up. What would you like to say about this song? They got a glimpse of it at the top of the show. What would you like to say about it?
I'm going to tell you about the song and also cue you in as you're watching to something. So each week, I get some requests from the people in the audience, and I try to do requests. I don't always know the songs very well, and so Wayne and I just run them quickly before we go on. But this song is an Eric Clapton song. I think it hit in the mid-'80s, early 80s, and I was always aware of it, but for some reason, when I was exploring songs for Cocktails and Cabaret, it kept resonating with me, and so I wanted to add it. And I think it's because, especially during the time we're in, we just have to do good in the world. We have to put out good in the world. So this song is dear to my heart. As you're watching it, notice the interactions between me and Wayne, because one of the beauties, I think, of doing a live stream and the people in it see it. And I don't always catch it until I rewatch it the next day to check sound and check everything. First, Wayne's expressions, I can't see him behind me. So his expressions are interesting. And then there's we ran this song before we did it, and I was off rhythmically. And so the very first time when I was in rehearsal off rhythmically, he said, no, it's not that. It's not. And I did it right. And then I look at him to make sure I did it right. So it's just that thing of live music, live theater, is that you just catch stuff. You you can't change it, you can't fix it. So we sort of go on mistakes and everything, and some things work and sometimes they don't. And that's just what performing is all about. That's the beauty of performing live.
Well, before I play that, I just want to remind viewers that if you type #sing into the comments, you'll be eligible to win the sticker at the end of the show. Someone actually tried to type it in. You misspelled it. So if you've typed this in, make sure it's precisely #sing if you've typed it in. Oh, and Francesca has entered.
I have entered. I always enter contests.
Well, you have entered, and I love that. So let me just take this banner off the screen, and here we go with the song.
Jubilate every day and not be angry at the world and not feel bad because I feel angry. I want to put good things out there in the world, and I hope that we all do. And this song, I was always aware of it when I was younger. It came out in 1996, and I sort of just knew it, and it was a cool song by Eric Clapton, but I always thought of it as a love song. And in the last 2 years, I've been listening to this song. It's sort of one of my go-to songs when I want to just calm myself, and if I feel bad, if I'm feeling angry, and I go to this song because it's what I want to put out there in the world. And so if you listen to the words, I think with that light, it becomes much less of a love song and more of a song about how we are in the world with other people. So it's sort of my aspiration. If I could reach the stars, pull one down for you, shine it on my heart, so you could see the truth, then this love I have inside is everything it seems. But for now I find it's only in my dreams, and I can change the world. I will be the sunlight in your universe. You would think my love was really something good, baby, if I could change the world. If I could be king, even for a day, I'd take you as my queen. I'd have it no other way, and our love would rule in this kingdom we have made. Till then I'd be a fool, wishing for that day, and I can change the world. I would be the sunlight in your universe. You would think my love was really something good, baby, if I could change the world. Change the world. I would be the sunlight in your universe. You would think my love was something good, baby, if I could change, baby, if I could change, baby, if I could change the world.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.
So you and your friends have been very busy chatting, but I just want Virginia, you didn't spell hashtag sing correctly, so you're not entered. You
Uh-oh.
put
Jenny.
hashtag SIMG. So to enter to win the sticker, if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, I think you can enter on LinkedIn. Can they? You press you hit hashtag sing. The reason I asked Francesca if they could, because we both use the platform called StreamYard to do our shows, and it's really quite astounding the access it's given us. So go ahead.
Barb, hashtag sing.
Yes, hashtag sing, Barbara.
I think he's a stickler
Hashtag
for the
sing.
rule.
Hashtag sing.
There we go.
So I'm putting
Although
your
we
website.
lost. Oh, go ahead.
I'm putting your website up. Did we lose someone?
No, I was going to say we lost internet last week during our StreamYard thing, and
I was watching.
I
knew that.
I had a punt.
I knew that was what happened.
It wasn't StreamYard's fault. It was just Wayne lost internet.
Yes,
but
I knew that
prepared.
I knew that is what happened, and the reason I knew it is because on the black box for the viewers, we still saw your logo on the screen, which meant we were still receiving the broadcast. There was just nothing being transmitted to it. That's why I tell all of my guests that if I get knocked off the air, you're still on the air. If you're still, you might pop up. Like if I got knocked off the air, you would pop up and you would be the only guest on my show. So I try to coach my guests, just do a monologue, do a song if that happens. So it's great that my worldwide audience can see you on Cocktails and Cabaret, which you can find from FrancescaAmari.com. Tell me a bit more about Wayne, who many people confuse for your husband, who is a completely different person altogether.
Right. They're both bald. Well, my husband is not bald at the moment, but, many years ago, I took a cabaret masterclass, because I really love the art of cabaret. And one of the things that they were talking about in that class was the relationship that you need to develop with a piano player and how magical it can be. And at that time, I didn't have that. I mean, I played with piano players and I thought, oh, that's kind of nice, but that's not what I have. So then all these years later, when I moved to Palm Springs and I started performing all around, and I got to know Wayne and we started performing together, and there is something that just clicked for us. And he has Broadway credits. He's from New York. So he did the Broadway thing. He played in the pits on Broadway shows. He toured with Broadway shows. Then he moved to the Palm Springs area, and he conducted the Coachella Valley Symphony, and he teaches high school music, and he performs himself. And we just started performing more and more together, and we clicked. And all of a sudden I realized one day, it's like, oh my God, that's what they were talking about many years ago when I did this cabaret class, is that you need to have this sort of relationship. And it is like a marriage, because we argue and he'll like say, you should do it this way. And I'm like, I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it this way. So we have our moments, but we sing well together, especially with Cocktails and Cabaret. And when we're performing live, we don't always have the time to rehearse stuff. So it's pretty magical that we can play together, and we just have sort of a sense of communication of how a song is going to end or what's going to happen or where he's going. It doesn't always work, but it mostly does. And I'm so grateful for him, because he just helps me deliver what I feel is my purpose.
I love that. I'm also a singer, which actually you may not know, but I have, there are periods in my life where I worked a lot on my singing. I hope there is another period like that yet to come. But one of the highlights was I did a show at the Cinegrill at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel in the 90s. I did 15 songs. I wrote 5 of them, and I worked with a 4-piece band and a backup singer. And I actually had, I took us all into a public access cable television studio that day, the same day. And so I preserved that. There is just something really powerful about connecting with an audience through song. It's really, It's really an amazing.
It's
So
magical.
what's some of the feedback that you got during the pandemic from the people that you were reaching at such a time when so many of us were isolated and lonely?
I still get the consistent comment, especially because it's hard to still know if it's hard to feel like it's safe to go out yet. And so I think the most consistent comment I get is that it's a nice hour break in sometimes what can be a monotonous time, because people aren't going out as much. They're not going out to dinner. They're not going to see shows. And so it's a little break for people. And the thing I love is that the people in our audience chat with each other, sort of like what's happening today. And they don't know each other always, but we have people who have sort of gotten to know each other, and they become Facebook friends because they see each other every week. And there's also a lot of people, at first I didn't get the metrics from Facebook. So we have a certain number of people who tune in live and they comment. And then we have a certain number of people who tune in, but they don't comment. And then there's a much huger viewership that never, like, they might pop in or pop out, and I'll have people in passing say to me, like in a message, "Oh, I love what you're doing." And I'm like, "Oh, I've never even seen you in the comments," but they watch. So I think it's just to have a nice little break with entertainment for an hour.
Well, speaking of entertainment for an hour or more, you do a lot of live shows,
I do.
all kinds of different themes. You recently did a Linda Ronstadt show, but one of the things you really have gotten a lot of acclaim for is your Gilda Radner tribute. So tell me about the origins of that particular show and set up the clip for us.
Sure. I'm from Michigan. I grew up in Battle Creek, Michigan, and Gilda Radner grew up in the Detroit area. And right around the time she hit big on Saturday Night Live, I was in high school, and I resembled her. I had this is not natural. It's naturally blonde and it's naturally gray. But I had dark frizzy hair and it was wide. And so people in high school started calling me Rosanna Dana. And I also, everybody fell in love with Gilda Radner because she was wonderful. And, because we're from the same state, I sort of developed this affinity for her, and I just fell in love with her. So the years went by, and I would get comments periodically about, "Oh, you remind me of Gilda Radner." And so when I first started doing Cabaret and I was taking my first show to New York, I worked with the director and I wanted to do a Gilda Radner show. And he said, "You shouldn't do that the first time out because then people will only associate you with Gilda Radner. You need to just do Francesca Amari." So I did that. And then a couple of years went by and I was doing a musical show in Arizona. And I don't know what it was I was doing on stage because I wasn't doing anything intentionally, but every night of that show, it was like a 10-week run. Just about every night I would get off stage and, go greet the audience. And every night people said, "Oh my God, you remind me so much of Gilda Radner." So I don't know what it was I was doing, but so then that was sort of the sign. And at the same time, the Gilda's Club in Grand Rapids was planning this 10-day comedy festival called Gilda's Laugh Fest. And so I worked with them and they gave me a slot. And so I developed this tribute show to Gilda Radner. And that was in 2011 and I'm still doing it. It's evolved. And now I have like an audio-visual clips of her. And so it's just evolved over the years, but it all started because I just felt an affinity for her and I actually resembled her. So this setup is actually, I don't ever try to impersonate her, but I do try to bring a sense of the character she created. And the clip you're going to see is me recreating something she did in her one-woman show on Broadway and as the Lisa Lubner character.
Okay, well, with a great setup by Francesca.
Thank you. The Way We Were by Mr. Marvin Hamlish.
Jump in anytime.
Memories like the corners of my mind. It's not yet. It's not your turn yet. It's just my turn. But thank you, that sounds good. Misty watercolor memories of the way we were. You're going too fast, Mr. Kavanaugh. Scattered pictures, I got it now. Of the smiles we left behind. Smiles we gave to one another. For the way we were. Okay, I know this part really well. Ready? Can it be that it was all so simple then? Or has time rewritten every line? If we had the chance to do all again, tell me what we I'm sorry. That part always gets to me. You see, the film, and I call it a film, not a movie. The film evokes the tragic love story of Barbara Katie Streisand and Robert Hubble Redford. It's about this outspoken Jewish girl with a big nose who moves to Hollywood with her beautiful blonde husband and gets disgusted. It took place during the time of McCarthyism, when McCarthy was accusing everybody of being communists. And he accused Barbara and Robert, which they're not. But it really put a strain on their marriage. I saw the movie 5 times, but I cried 6 times because after the 4th time, I cried all the way to the theater on the 5th time. Okay, this is the sing-along part. I think it's highlighted in your paper. Memories may be beautiful and yet... Oh, this is good. Thank you. What's too painful to remember? We simply choose to forget. So it's the laughter we will remember. Whenever we remember the way we were. Okay, now just me. The way we were.
Wow, that was so fun. I have to
That was
say,
fun.
I'm really happy that whoever was operating the camera pulled back and they showed the size of the room that you were performing
Yeah,
for.
that was a magical night.
Yes, and I didn't want to put the comments up during your performance, but these comments came in while we were watching the clip. Barbara says Kevin Kavanaugh, and you responded, yes, Barb, he was so much fun to play with on the show. Barb says, hilarious. Christine asked if you played the piano. You chatted back, no, that was all Kevin. I just did one key at a time. Christina agrees that that's how she plays. Christina has a smile emoji. And then you say it's fun to watch and that the audience sang together. That's really wonderful. So you're an ally of the LGBTQ community, and you probably always have been because you grew up in the world of music, and you would have been surrounded by gay choir boys.
Absolutely. Although I'm of the period where that wasn't spoken about. So only later in life did you oops, I lost sound from you.
I'm still here.
Okay. Oh,
I'm
no,
still
I'm
here.
looking at them. Thank you. So it took me several years to realize, that was that gay people sort of gravitate toward the arts. And now it's funny because my husband and I will talk about that we live in a bubble in Palm Springs, and that sometimes when you go out into the world beyond Palm Springs, it's not the same because everything's so accepting here and open, and it's still, even in this day and age, it's not always open and accepted. So that's sad. But it took me several years after I graduated in 1979. So it was still sort of a hidden thing. And now I talk to people who are gay, and they talk about their experience in the late 70s and early 80s and how difficult it was and how finally it happened that they could come out.
Well, you and you're just a little bit older than I am. You have celebrated publicly that you just turned 60 and you look marvelous. And I will be 60 in April. So a lot of the same things we were experiencing around music, pop music, shifts in culture, we experienced together. Of course, I was on the opposite side of that LGBTQ coin. But it's fantastic that you are an ally. Now, you do other things as well, and I'm going to ask you a question, and if you're not allowed to talk about the answer to this question, by all means, because the reason I know the background for this question is because I'm friends with both you and Lucy Arnaz on Facebook, and I have had the honor to meet her in real life because she's our neighbor, and as a community, we're celebrating the success of Being the Ricardos, and she was one of the producers on that film. But you worked with her on a project, at least one, because I saw you interact about it publicly on Facebook, and I was wondering if you would talk about that aspect of what you do, and what you happen to do for her.
Sure. I'm trying to remember how this all happened. Well, I direct audiobooks, and I have since 2007. And I started working with a company. I lived in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Barb. Hi, Barb. And I needed a job because I've done freelance work my whole life. And so sort of when I'm between projects or stuff, I just sort of put feelers out there. And I did at that time. And a friend of mine said, oh, you need to go to Brilliance Audio. They're in Grand Haven, Michigan, and they need directors. So I went, and the producer I was meeting with said, don't you want to narrate books? I'm like, no, I don't want to narrate books. I have a very limited vocal range for voice, speaking voice. And so I started directing for Brilliance, and Brilliance Audio is one of the oldest audiobook companies. And so I worked for them for those years. And then when I moved to California, they said, oh, we can still use you in California because we hire narrators out there, and we contract with studios and stuff. So I started directing books out here, and for some reason, and it just might be, it's my, weird personality, but Brilliant started using me a lot with author reads, like authors who are narrating their own books, because I can instruct and be gentle and kind, and with celebrities. So I've worked with such people as Joe Mantegna and William Friedkin, and like they would call me and say, can you direct so-and-so? I'm like, yeah. So I got the call to work with Lucy Arnaz. And first we recorded her father's book with Juan DiPace, who was on Fuller House. And Lucy wanted to sit in on that process because she'd never recorded an audiobook. And so she came to the studio, and it was so great to have her because she had this insight that I didn't have. I knew the book, and I had read the book, and I had all my notes. But she was able, like, he would stop and say, do you think I should do this? And I just would look at Lucy, and she'd go, oh yeah, and she'd agree with me or say, no, let's do it this way. So first we recorded Desi's book, and then we recorded Lucy's book, and that was by Lucy. And she was just a joy. So I spent like probably 3 weeks in the studio with her all together. And she was a joy to know, and she was so easy to work with. And it was really magical to hear her mom's words through her voice. And she trusted me as a director to give her, input, even though she was totally in control. So with Being the Ricardos, it's just so exciting because all these things are popping up, and because they were really just so critical to the entertainment world and TV, Lucy and Desi. And so it's nice that they're getting, people are seeing that acclaim, and that Lucy is seeing that.
Oh, that's so wonderful. But it's interesting. It's interesting to me that the fact that you know her had nothing to do with the fact that you're kind of neighbors.
Yeah.
I was thinking that that's how that connection might have come about.
It came from Michigan. Like, Lucy lives in Palm Springs, and she's going to record. We went to LA to record the book, but they just called, and I didn't know her up until then. And then I got to know her. Now we're friends, and I've seen her since. I've had her coffee at her house, so it's pretty cool.
Well, I first met Lucy and her husband Larry Luckenbill on the red carpet at the Steve Chase Humanitarian Awards. I was there as a journalist and as a grateful client of DAP, DAP Health, formerly known as Desert AIDS Project, and we had a really amazing interview about what it was like in the early years of HIV and AIDS, and how it was for them to raise kids. And we talked about teaching their children safer sex and how that went along. And anyway, then I worked at 849 Restaurant and Lounge for the first 4 years they were open, and would come to know many of the customers there, and then had the opportunity to be at Lucy and Larry's home for a political event one time. So Palm Springs has all kinds of really fabulous, exciting intersections. And now through your work and mine, we get to share the joy of this with the world. Is there anything that you would like to talk about in our interview that we haven't addressed?
Well, I do. I've always been curious about why you started PromoHomo.TV.
Oh, you're turning the tables on me.
I am.
Okay. So, you talked about how your purpose is to sing.
Yeah.
Well, my purpose is to, you know what? I'm going to do a sneak preview of, I'm going to give a scoop to something that might end up in a speech that I've been asked to write. So you're going to get a scoop of something. So, okay. I'll bring this words over to the same screen as the camera, so I can look you in the eye. So in the early 1980s, knowing and loving people who lived with and died of AIDS forever changed the trajectory of my story. They taught me life is precious, and my life may be, very short. They challenged me to make every moment count, to make my life matter, to make it all mean something. I realized my calling was to live and tell my truth, to shine light into darkness, and to try to change the world. I started and never stopped. So it's a long story, but basically this is the current incarnation of a life journey that was forever inspired by people who I loved then, some who are still alive today.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Nicholas. I mean, especially people our age, we all went through that terrible period in the 80s where we lost people we know to the AIDS virus. And I don't know how you could not be changed by that and have an empathy or a sympathy. So I know, especially when I got to Palm Springs, I actually started doing volunteer work with the LGBTQ Center. And I stage managed the Red Dress Party for a couple of years. And I stage managed the, I forget what it was called. It was always at the convention center, the big concert. And it just brings you such joy to do projects like that. And you do want to put that out in the world because you want other people to understand we are all one. We're just all people together in this world. So why judge? And I guess bringing awareness to that through music, through TV, through books, through speech, I think it's so important for all of us to be advocates for that, because I don't know how you cannot be changed by the things that happen to people.
Well, one of my ultimate goals, which is human race wide, is for people to give themselves permission to discover and pursue their dreams. Mm-hmm. I hope that that in something that I do or say or have created or shared, that it inspires someone to step into their own truth and shine their own light.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I teach theater, and I was just talking about this last night with one of the girls. I have little ones and I have older ones, but in the summer, I had I think a fourth grader, and he would come to class, and then one day I gave him some monologue to do, and he said, "Today I'm a girl," and I said, "Oh, okay. Well, this can be read by either a boy or a girl, so you can choose what you want to be." And, you know, that was the first time that it happened to me as a teacher, but you have to just adjust on the fly and make, you know, I'm like, I hope my face isn't like, oh, I just sort of went with it. And we all have to experience that and then figure out, how do you make that person feel safe and comfortable? What a challenge for that little boy or girl to say to me, I'm identifying with this gender today. And making it clear to me that he's not always going to identify as a boy, you know.
And maybe the term he no longer applies. It's like,
Yeah.
that's why it's important. And I'm remiss that I don't always do this at the top of my show to start, but to introduce myself with my pronouns. My pronouns are he, him, and his.
I'm still getting used to it. It's hard. It's you know, it's hard to change, but we have to sort of move with that.
We need to normalize it. I've had your website up many times. That's where people can find more information. I want to give a last call to participate in the drawing. So this is the last call. If you haven't done so already, type hashtag sing. Spell it correctly. Hashtag sing, and you will be entered to win. I'm going to be doing the drawing last call. So I asked you if you had anything you wanted to add, and you turned the tables on me. I'm going to ask the question again, but I want you to answer specific to your own life and what's next.
I don't know. I never know what's next. I sort of just roll with the punches and do, you know, people always say, oh, you work all the time. And I don't really, but I'm sort of out there like, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. That's the part that I love the most about my life, is that I have such a variety of things that I do. In my wildest dreams, I want Cocktails and Cabaret to be like worldwide, and I want to have a major audience, because I love the whole concept of the technology and the entertainment and people interacting with each other while they're seeing entertainment. It's just so much fun. So that's sort of like my Cocktails and Cabaret for me is like my passion project.
Okay, then. Well, we've shared some of your cocktails.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll take the Cabaret and a mocktail, because in February, later this month, I'll celebrate 21 years sober.
Good for you. Yeah, and it's beverage of choice. It can be.
No, I understand completely. I got it. So, Iron G. Donato says, Francesca, Sunny Honey, your tears are so funny. Your stories are loony. You make me happy in a silly, sappy way. I'll follow everywhere you go. Love your show much. Iron. I think Iron is a poet.
Iron is a poet.
Clearly, there's so much literary depth to that remark.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's do the drawing. I love this. Okay. So what I do is, I need to, not ready for that yet. Just 1 second. I got to share the screen that lets everybody, see the drawing. So bear with me, because I want everyone to know I'm being fair. So I'm going to bring up, the drawing, which is right here. And now I'm going to do the drawing. Here we go.
Cool. We need drum roll. Oh, good. I did.
Oh, whack job!
Yay! Whack job. That's perfect.
All right, so whack job. You need to use the contact screen, the contact link at PromoHomo.TV to let me know how to get this to you. Okay. And for those of you who really want to get one of these, the other way to do it is to become a paid subscriber of PromoHomo.TV, which you can do at patreon.com/PromoHomo.TV. Francesca, thank you so much.
Thank you. This was fun.
I loved having you on the show.
I love being here anytime.
Thank
Thanks
you.
everybody for joining and talking.
So, Francesca, stay right there so we can have some fun post-show chit-chat. Okay. We can talk about the audience behind their backs. So I'll see you in just a moment. And for those of you who are watching, I just love what I do, and Francesca loves what she does, and I hope that you love what you're doing, and I love you for watching. We do have Whack Job saying, finally I won in life. And Christina says, great show, thanks. I couldn't agree more. Francesca is a great winner, a great person, and she says you're always a winner, Trip. So I think that they're going to be talking behind my back as we continue. But once again, I really appreciate you watching today, and I'll see you next time.